The chaos in the classroom in the school was the result of affirmative action hire, a black administrator who could not be fired. That was from Shut Up and Let the Lady Teach. Furthermore, they go on through public record and have found situations in Washington, D.C., New Orleans, and New York City, where these cities have been embarrassed by having to follow the laws of affirmative action and have hired police officers that aren't fit to do police officer duty and have actually been found committing crimes while a police officer. Not only while a police officer, while in uniform. That's a huge black eye for the affirmative action. Furthermore, they go on to talk about one situation in New Orleans where a newly hired black officer had to be removed for committing assaults while on duty. Another one, who was known to be unfit for police work, was removed after he murdered 2 citizens and a fellow police officer while on duty. What I've got here is equal rights for all, special privileges for none. That goes to the heart of the matter. Affirmative action should be equal rights for everyone. We should not place the emphasis above one person versus another. I stand in the shadow of great men of the past who have led the fight and have fought the battle and that know more than I'll ever know. And these great individuals know more than I ever have. We're a society so focused on the color and sex of the individual that we ask for it on virtually every document, from the doctor's office to the bank application to the student application for college, for jobs. In 1964, we passed the Affirmative Action Act, the Civil Rights Act, and in there we declared that there would be no accountability of race, religion, color, or creed. Since then, we've had an explosion of those documents. Now we want to know about it in every document. So I ask you, how do we acknowledge that there is racial discrimination, work to reverse its effects, and not create new problems for our children? I challenge you to look at the last 50 years. The last 50 years, roughly since 1964, we have eliminated racial discrimination in the baseball league. Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. He not only broke it, he shattered it. Now if you look at a Major League Baseball game, we have blacks, we have whites, we have Asians, we have Latinos, all playing the game of baseball because of Jackie Robinson. That's why we honor Jackie Robinson with Jackie Robinson Day. Hillary Shelton, is the acting director of the Washington Bureau of the NAACP, states that affirmative action is still needed. I don't believe her because enrollment in higher education by women and minorities is higher than it has been in history. In fact, education by women is higher than men. If you look at the enrollment of schools, there are more women enrolled in school than men. These changes have come about because of the education of the individuals and the acknowledgement that discrimination is not moral or ethical. We've changed the majority of people's thinking since 1964 by passing the Civil Rights Act. We have taken the mindset that we're going to allow discrimination, to allow hate crimes, and turn a blind eye to it. We now focus on it and attack it with a vengeance. If we educate our young people, we can combat this problem. We educate young people about safe sex, about drug abuse, tobacco, but is discrimination not as deadly? Does it not cause as much harm? Because of our educational efforts, teenage pregnancy, teen smoking, and teen drug use has dropped to the lowest it has ever been in the last decade. That is according to teenpregnancyhelp.org. Most of the education that our youth gets on discrimination, though, is at home, by peers, and by television. So if any of those views are slanted, if any of those views are not of the colorblind, we're not doing our children justice. Because of the good aspects of affirmative action, we have started to make progress. Today we are sickened by the hate crimes. We will not allow them to happen anymore. They're attacked. We as America want change. We strive for change. We are not our fathers. We are not our mothers. We acknowledge discrimination as a problem, but we don't believe that more discrimination is the answer to the problem. That is why America, including Black America, wants a modified affirmative action. Alan Wolf is the director of the Boise Center for Religion at Boston College. He surveyed people for an upcoming book, but while he was doing his survey, he realized that this made a good article, so he put an article together to precursor his book coming out. What he found is that most people of all nationalities, this was a survey of the middle class, of all nationalities, of all sex, of all religion, of all race, felt that the preferential treatment of a minority for job hiring or admissions to college over other qualified candidates was wrong. And I said this was regardless of race, religion, or color. They felt that the merit was the key battlefield. Some felt that they lost merit because they were a minority, and that affirmative action restored it. Others felt that the merit that they had worked so hard for all their life was devalued because they weren't a minority, or they weren't a woman. America wants affirmative action to be inclusive, not exclusive. This is probably the most striking section of all my research that I did, and I have to read it because it is so striking. Perhaps the last word on the subject should be given to a post office manager in Eastlake, California. Quote, "I think affirmative action is good, but I think it should be for everyone." A bit stunned, Mr. Wolf's research assistant asked him whether he meant that affirmative action should be based on class and not race. "No," he replied. "I think affirmative action should be based on the whole populace. In other words, not just one segment of the population. Not, for example, just women alone for affirmative action. I think it should be for everyone, for all races, all genders, all citizens." It's not clear that this man understood what affirmative action is, but he did understand something about America. Let us not do away with affirmative action so much as make a change to it, to redefine it, to make it inclusive of all people rather than exclusive. Black leaders have become to understand that affirmative action is not everything that's cracked up to be. They realize the dangers it poses to them, their communities, and their longevity. Bill Conti and Brad Stetson are quoting Errol Smith, a black Los Angeles businessman and former advisor for the Committee of Civil Rights. And in his defense against his anti-affirmative action stance, he goes on to say that, is it right for us to require a Chinese individual to score 15 points higher than all black kids? Is it right for us to say that this black individual, who is extremely wealthy, be admitted to the college based on the fact that the general populace of the black people are poor? Is it right for us to say that this white individual, who is poor, be allowed to not go to school because he looks like the Fortune 500 owner's son? Makes you stop and think that there's people of all walks, of all races, of all situations. Smith ends his article with a moral plea. "We as Black America must lift our heads a bit, look to the horizon, and ask where these policies are leading us. Do we like the world where these policies are creating? Are we comfortable with the racial legacy that we are leaving for our children?" I ask you that same question. By making a change to affirmative action, we're eliminating preferential treatment for one group over another. But we can still acknowledge and combat discrimination. We have to remove preferential treatment from everything. No more do we have to file our sex, our age, our color, our ethnicity on paper. When you apply for a loan, who sees that? The loan officer that makes the approval is in some faraway building. When you apply for school, again, they're normally in some faraway building or even another state. So why do we have to put that I'm white, that I'm black, that I'm Asian on these documents? It's more for our own self-satisfaction that we're holding up affirmative action than actual affirmative action. Only after we enacted affirmative action has there been a need for those questions. Leaving litigation as a method to combat discrimination is more than effective if we allow equal